dumbing it down. WoW is not dumbed down. FF14 is obnoxiously overcomplicated. There's a difference. It's the other way around. Granted, I think Final Fantasy XIV is in a better spot than World of Warcraft right now. I think it's a better game, but there are aspects of FF14 that are not very good that need to be remedied. And one of it is the overcomplication and the ability bloat that every class has. Not to mention, no class feels unique. Like, except for Dancer. Dancer is the only job that I've ever played that actually felt truly unique. Everything else just had another generic rotation. Like, Dancer actually has a unique resource system. Oh, and Red Mage. Red Mage is good too. Everything else is just kind of like, hey, I have a pet, but everything else is the same, you know? Black Mage felt a little unique, but more or less it was just like, you know, if you play like Dragoon and then Monk and then Ninja, it's the same thing. It's just you press the buttons in a different order. That's it. You know, you still have a bunch of, like a 20 freaking button melee combination length that you had to manage. Whereas, like, every class in World of Warcraft has a unique resource system. Rage, energy, focus, mana, runes, runic power. Like, there's all these different mechanics, and they all work differently and bring every class into a unique feeling experience. Final Fantasy XIV does not have any of that. The closest you get is Dancer with feathers and stuff, and Red Mage with white mana, black mana. Which was pretty good. I mean, I love Dragoon because of the mobility, but yeah. So like, I think FF14 is definitely very strong, and I think it's a very good game, but they need to be better. What they need to do is remake it, because the game engine that Final Fantasy XIV is currently on is still the FF14 1.0 game engine. And there's a lot of remnants of the horrible programming from that are being carried over for years and years and years. And they need to scrap it. They need to rebuild it and port everything over to a new system. So they can make the GCD faster, so they can make the server client delay, like, shorter. Like, do you ever notice in FF14, that's not Mola. Why is Mola not getting a level? Hello? Is there XP, like, stuck or something? What's going on there? Have you ever noticed that in FF14, when you like attack something, or like when you're about to get hit by something, there's actually like this period of time where it like, as it happens, you won't get hit. So like, okay, the spell goes out, the damage is being calculated, but you're not on the spell effect. You're like well away from it, and then you get hit. There's like this half second, 1 second period where you have to like kind of figure out and learn how the system calculates when you're taking damage, and it's definitely a delay. I have definitely taken lots of damage and died when I was well out of the effect when it actually executed, like the damage actually, like when the explosion happened, the effect occurred, whatever. Hey, what's up, Philip? Yeah, you would die outside of the AoE, right? Exactly, yeah. It's really, really bad with that. But like, after you play the game for several years, you kind of start to get used to it, but it's still a thing. They had specialization classes in EQA expansion, with the Enchanter getting a subclass that made them able to charm enemies for a lot longer and higher levels than normal ones. Wow. EQ is kind of like an entirely different beast. It doesn't play by the same rules as the standard MMOs do. Position checks for damage is end of the cast bar for anything with a cast bar, but a lot of things don't have cast bars. Well, then it's when it's... even instant abilities have a cast bar, it's just 0 seconds. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing, it's the same, that's when it's executed, but like, yeah. It doesn't matter, it doesn't lag from your internet connection. So there's always a server client lag, Cinny, but like with World of Warcraft, when you take damage, like you took it like when the effect goes out. Like it's done in such a way that visually it makes sense to the player, whether it's calculated at a certain time or not. It doesn't matter. It visually makes sense to the player. Final Fantasy XIV, it does not do that. You can actually wait to the end of the cast part, then move into the spell effect, and there'll be this huge explosion that you're sitting in the middle of, and you'll take no damage because when it was calculated, you weren't in it, and it makes it very unintuitive. You don't understand like why you're not taking damage and why you are taking damage, because to the player you're like, but I was out of it, you know. So it's about how it's given, how the information is given to the player. They can test those environments to make them more intuitive, but they don't. And I think a lot of it has to do with the really poor framework of the FF14 1.0 engine. Zervo, thank you for the 11 months, dude. And they can't change that without remaking the game. Like core parts of a game engine cannot be fixed. Like, you know why World of Warcraft has the backpack has been as big as it is, 16 slots, since the beginning of time? You know why the backpack has 16 slots and they've never increased it? Because they can't. They literally cannot without rebuilding the entire game engine. It is hard coded into the game engine. They cannot increase the backpack size without rebuilding the entire game. Hey, there's Meloz's level. 3 strength, nice. 4 vitality, and 10 HP, very good. And a new spell. If you get an authenticator, it gains 4 slots. And they must have figured out how to do it, because back when it was a huge complaint, Iron Eye is weird. They released a statement talking about how it was core coded into it and they couldn't increase it without rebuilding it. So either they rebuilt it in such a way that it made sense for them to do it, or they figured out a workaround. They upped the backpack size a couple years ago after sticking a single person on fixing the messy code for a year. For a year! Oh my god. Oh my god. Let's just go to the first town. So yeah, there you go. They had to just to increase the backpack size because it's a core part of the programming. So people think that it's just so easy. Oh, just change the integer from 16 to 20. There you go. You have a larger backpack. Easy. Gosh, I'm such a pro programmer. You should hire me. No, nerd. That's not how it works. You know, programming is complicated. It's very, very complicated, and it's not as simple as just do it. There's a lot more that goes into it. Oh, I needed to save it. That's why I ported over to that town. Damn it. Some things, yes. Other things, no. Not so easy. So, you know, it's kind of important that y'all understand that, you know, it's not just so easy as doing the programming thingy. And a lot of games wish they could fix those things, but they just can't. You know, like the developers know. The developers know what the community wants. They know what the community wants, but being able to do it is a completely different thing, you know? Well, true, Obsidian. I mean, more often than not, yes, you're right. Where it is as easy as changing an integer, but what happens after you change that integer, you know, that's the problem, right? Yeah, exactly. Funny thing about programming is, like, you could just, like, change the tiniest little thing all the way across the world in an MMO, but, like, the most unexpected things break because of it. And you just don't know why. You just have to recode it to not do that, and you don't know. It's messy. Coding's a freaking mess. And I'm not even a coder, and I understand this. You don't have to be a coder to understand it. You just have to understand what is happening, how the relationship between values and numbers and code works. And it's very simple. It's basic. It's like, I don't know, understanding that 2 + 2 is 4. Sometimes. Yeah, coders are just lazy and don't try very hard. Exactly. Thank you. You heard Yoshi P say he wants to update 14 graphics to Black Desert level. I would probably want to play Final Fantasy XIV again if they rebuilt the engine and put them at Black Desert level of visuals. Black Desert is so much fun. It is a really well-made game from a gameplay perspective, and a world, and the visuals are stunning, but holy shit, is that game hollow and shallow as hell. There is zero endgame content other than grind your absolute ass off endlessly, which is really unfortunate. But I would love to have a game of an MMO with that kind of graphical fidelity, and actually have a meaningful content, you know? Ah, nope, there's a, can I equip it? Chain sickle, right? Yeah, I doubt anybody else can use that. I really appreciate how the game gives you 75% of the value of the item when you sell things in this, because gold has always been tight in DQ games, and basically they instead of giving you more gold, which would be the easy solution, they encourage minor upgrades. They encourage you to get small upgrades instead of like making you want to save up and skip 3 tiers of equipment, you know? I think they realized that people were just, like in DQ1, you would just skip right to the magic plate mail if you wanted to grind it out, you know? And they wanted to encourage people to not do that. They wanted people to hit every little upgrade that they could as they come to them without feeling like they're gonna be broke and needing to grind all over again. You're bored and you have no idea what you want to do right now. Animal Crossing. If anyone was playing WoW during the BFA expansion pre-patch remembers the massive lag the patch brought with, I found the cause of that lag and reported 6 weeks before the patch went out. Oh, wow. But because of how... Oh, it was ignored. I don't know if it was... I mean, are you sure it was ignored, or it's just not one of those, like, oh, we can't fix it because we don't know kind of things? You're not a fan of AC? Oh. Well, how about watch me fail at video games on the internet? That's something to do. Where's my bronze shield? She can equip the bronze shield, nice. Oh yeah, skipping out on things until bigger upgrades. Yeah, I don't do that. I don't typically grind out every upgrade that I can get. Like when I play DQ11, if I could afford it, I bought it, you know? But when I'm playing games like DQ3, it's like you have to grind at every step to get every armor if you want to progress. But I mean, in DQ1, you could, if you were lucky enough, run away from every encounter and get to the one town that sold the magic armor and just grind until you had enough to get it and skip like 6 tiers of armor. And if it was way more effective to do it that way if you could, because all the armors were hugely expensive and you got very little gold each battle. So I mean, it was a huge amount of wasted time. Iron Spear, I wonder if I could equip that. I wonder if the priest can, maybe. She has a dagger on. Oh yeah, I do have 1, 2, 3 for gold. I think that's fine. Blah, 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 blah. Alright, we gotta go get the golden crown so he can recognize us as the true hero. Otherwise, we're not a true hero, we're a fake hero. Kind of a pain in the ass that you have to teleport to another town just to save the game, and then you gotta go use the inn again just to restore your lost MP. It's kind of meh. I don't know why they didn't give save spots in the other towns. BFA is Braska's final end. We've talked about Battle for Azeroth a lot, so BFA is definitely Battle for Azeroth for me. Well, I'm taking 4 instead of 10, so that's an improvement. Seems like this game really established a ton of Sugiyami's motifs for use in future DQ, and a lot of the same offer references this future game. Yes. Yep. Actually, DQ2 kind of started the whole classic DQ reused musics and melodies and stuff. But yes, you hear a lot of like future DQ music isms from this game as well. Yeah, definitely. Let's go down and get that treasure. Treasure wedgie, treasure wedgie. Where should you have your wife starting the FF series? She wants to play something, but she's not much of a gamer. If she's not much of a gamer, I don't think that Final Fantasy would really be her cup of tea. However, I always recommend that if someone is interested in playing the Final Fantasy franchise, they should start with FF4. But I know there's a huge female population that really loves FF10. But the reason I say start with FF4 is because FF1, 2, and 3 are still that old NES, like, not quite there in terms of, like, game development and design and everything, so it's kind of hard to get into those. But FF4 is, like, the first really, like, well-balanced Final Fantasy that has compelling story, characters, and design that feels intuitive to the player. But it's still going to be a little punishing. If she's not much of a gamer, it might be hard for her to do that, but I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, you can start with any of them. FF10 would be a great one because, like I said, there's a huge love for FF10 amongst female gamers. Just don't play X2, yeah. You can also take as long as you need with battles in FF10, yeah. But again, it just depends. Like, if she's actually interested in Final Fantasy, I would say start with 4 because that's like the start of the franchise as far as I'm concerned. That feels like intuitive, and you can just kind of go up from there. But if she's not much of a gamer and you just want something that she'll enjoy, no, like a higher chance of enjoyment rather, 10 for sure. Oh, good get. So, from my understanding, well, I mean, this part is actually true. For the expansion, what is it called? The one I quit on at the end of it. I ain't learning to spell. What's the one where you go to Outland again? Warlords of Draenor. Warlords of Draenor story was the first really, really, really horrible, terrible, awful storytelling in World of Warcraft. I am a huge WoW lore nut. I love WoW lore, or Warcraft lore in general. It's one of my favorites. Was one of my favorites. But Chris Metzen literally hired a, quote, well-known fanfiction writer to write the entire story of Warlords of Draenor. So that's why we got weird alternate dimension time traveling bullshit and the most generic writing you've ever seen. There were some really cool cutscenes and really cool parts like Thrall fighting, what's his name, Garrosh and stuff. There was a lot of awesomeness in that expansion story, but generally speaking, the major overarching themes and general dialogue of the game was awful. Awful, 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 awful. So basically, all of Warcraft Warlords of Draenor is fanfiction. Yes, I heard about that. Yeah, it was supposed to be something else, but, okay, so originally, Warlords of Draenor was slated to be the last expansion that they would ever have. That was their original plan, and then they even said that at BlizzCon. But they're like, you know, we wanted to bring this story to you now. But, like, what pissed me off is that Miss Pandaria built up this whole thing between, like, the dragons and, well, not dragons, but Raytheon specifically, and the Burning Legion. Like, they're coming. This is gonna be a thing. Like, be ready. And it just kind of felt like Miss Pandaria was, like, this sort of new adventure, new experience, like, I'm exploring the world and we're doing stuff here and it's fun. But then Raytheon was like looming over you like, bro, I know you're having fun, but seriously, Burning Legion, you know? And it was awesome. It felt cool. I was so excited. I loved Miss Pandaria, and I loved this sort of like looming threat that the Burning Legion was still there and they were pissed off at you, you know? And then they gave us Warlords of Draenor out of nowhere. Like, why? And everything just felt like they scrapped so much of the actual game away from the player so you can get a stupid base that was just too much min-max work. It felt like a gacha game in some cases, and it was a swing and a miss in terms of content. The raids were fun, the raids were exciting, and the world was cool, but the story and writing was absolute trash. It was really, 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 really bad. And I can't, and from my understanding, Battle for Azeroth is basically a cleanup of that. And that's why that's also bad. And they kind of kept a lot of the same mentality, and that same writer, he's still working at Blizzard, isn't he? Apparently there are thieves in this tower. Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, everybody's poisoned again. Your ex thought Miss Pandaria is mega racist? Listen, stereotypes are a thing, but like, just having a cultural similarity is not racist, you know? Having an accent is not racist. If you're doing like the whole like... I'm not going to emulate it because it is racist, but there are racist ways of portraying accents and dialogue and things, you know? And then there's like an ode to the culture itself. And having Pandarians have an East Asian culture is fine. Like, are we mad because, you know, Stormwind is Middle Ages European culture? How dare they? How dare they be Middle Ages European culture? That's so racist. Yeah. Okay. Of course you can't argue with her. That would make you an enabler. That would make you an enabler if you argued with her. Just by default, whether you were right or wrong, it doesn't matter. Yeah, one-step encounter, baby, let's go! Oh, we've already had some zero-step encounters. I mean, it's technically not a zero-step encounter based on how it works, I understand, but like when you screen transition, more two-step encounters. Great. Awesome. You feel like you shouldn't get an encounter, but yeah. And what I mean by screen transition is like exiting a cave. Not like, you know, going from one door to another. Like, when I go into a room here, I'm probably gonna get an encounter because that's how the game works, but... Uh-huh. See, screen transition into the room, you get an encounter, but, like, going down a stairway, you should not get an encounter on the other side of that. But you can in this game. I think the reason is because those old NES and sometimes SNES games do not, like, teleport the player to the coordinates in question. What they do is, like, actually physically move the character, which means they're moving a tile, which means they can get an encounter, you know? Well, get a load of these weirdos! Yeah. Yep, we better go tell the boss. Wow, actual scripted events. What? This is madness! Actual scripted events! Holy crap, what game is this? I can't, this isn't a DQ game. Can I, oh. You done well to get this far, I gotta hand it to you. Just one thing, ain't no one gonna catch us. See ya, sucker. Oh, okay, well. They took the treasures. Hi. Stubborn fools, I'll show you who's boss. Well then, one Candor and one Candor Henchman. Okay, let's go. Basu Taimu! Iron Eyes. It's probably like a defensive buff. So let's do that. I think I'm gonna go with oh, it's only single target, never mind. Let's go with, oh, maybe it's not single target. Oh, it's these are single, yikes. Ooh, that's gonna make it hard. That's gonna make it hard. They're single groupings of the henchmen, so I can't use group AoE. Maybe I should just plop a heal on someone just as a backup. I think I'll just like blanket heal with that just to make sure that he gets it.